On today's episode of Anime Afterthought Fire Force Season 2, Episode 13, A Pair of One Eyes. Today's episode was amazing. Not only does it show off Fire Force continuity, but just aesthetically. Whoever was in charge of the Adolla scenes, you deserve a raise. My god, those things were glorious. Now, last we left off, Joker and Benimaru had infiltrated the Holy Soul Temple in an attempt to uncover the true scriptures. As they venture deeper in the church, they eventually make it to the Nether, home of the church's assassination squad, the Holy Soul Shadows. And this is where we see Joker confront his past. Yes, a former member of the Shadows who had unfortunately been victimized by its captain. But there's no sweeter time for revenge than the present, as we see Joker get his in bloody fashion. But out of the shadow comes a familiar face and a daunting new foe. That's right, Leonard Burns, Captain of the First, has entered the fray. And this is where we picked up today's episode. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get an all-out smackdown between Joker and Burns. We do get a very nice comedic scene that Joker calls out Burns' bullshit as soon as he saw Benimaru Shinmon. He's like, dude, you saw him, you turned your tail, man. Once again, that goes to show you how much of an OP monster Benimaru is. He just walks into the scene, throwing out that second generation, third generation, big dick energy, and just boom, Captain of the First Division gives up. But technically, they're not here to fight. They're here to uncover the truth of the Holy Soul Temple, and that's what Burns is there to help him with. But before we uncover the truth of the Holy Soul Temple, we get a glimpse into their past between these two characters. Due to the new intro, as well as them sporting, similar opposite eye patches, you figure there's some kind of connection between these two characters, as well as the slip up last week as Joker was making his escape, said, you know what, I can feel it, Burns is somewhere near me. We know there had to be a connection. Well, it turns out Burns originally was the liaison for this assassination squad, the Shadows, and Joker even admits, like, hey, he used to take care of me in some kind of capacity. Older brother, maybe father figure, not 100% sure. Probably wasn't that close-knit, but it looks like the two at least were confidants, as we see Joker once again is conflicted with this world and has that existential crisis, like, why does the world suck so much? Which actually plays a pretty big role coming up. But first they have to discuss their Adolla link, which Benimaru is rightfully confused. Like, hey, isn't that what Shinra's talking about? Well, yeah, back when the Amaterasu got invaded by Infernals, he's like, whoa, what the fuck? What are you talking about? When did this happen? Of course, the Holy Soul Church wants to keep this stuff under wraps, as is Hajime Industries, because you know what? They have to keep the facade of it being safe going. Out on a mission to eradicate the Infernals, it looks like something quite miraculous and scary had happened to the two. In confronting this one Infernal, the Infernal unleashes a sound wave which puts him through immense pain, and this is where the Adolla link seems to start. Now, I don't know if it coalesces with what this, see a little flashback of him, once again questioning the world, but through this immense pain and probably of pure thought, they are quite literally transported to another world. Adolla, hell, they come across this dreamscape of floating eyes and flames, and they literally come face to face with the evangelist, something that Joker quotes as, God. On a side note, who the hell would have thought hell was so purple? I was gonna think, red. Like I said though, this little transformation, the swirl through that little warp tunnel and stuff, where we see not only an infernal but the symbol for the Holy Soul Temple, ending out in this, it's like almost like a different planet. Like it's amazing. Whoever animated this, you were amazing. Great job. But as they come back to reality, they're questioning whether it was a hallucination or not. Well, it turns out, no, it's not. Joker was actually able to snag a piece of this other world, a truly undying flame, as Burns admits that he keeps it in an oxygen-free jar, and yet the thing is still on fire. And that right there is what sparked Burns to investigate the Holy Soul Church. He's been digging around a lot longer than Joker, not to mention he has like a front row seat to what's going on, so he can probably get his hands on some good stuff, and in fact he does, as he hands the journal of Raffles the First wife to Joker, saying that there are no true scriptures. This is the closest thing we have, and it paints a very weird picture. So we all know at this point that Raffles the First left on his journey to find an unsullied flame, but when he came back, as far as his wife concerned, he was a completely different person. He lost every single idiosyncrasy as well as mannerism that she had come to know in the 30 years. Quoting, he is not the same man that I've been married to for, 3 decades. This is very interesting. Not only did Benimaru, but also myself think of one individual who can literally manipulate, disguise themselves as another person down to, the smallest minute detail. But it doesn't make sense. This happened 250 years ago. How the hell would that white clad, how does that even make sense? Well, actually, he admits it himself as we flash over to Inca, finding out that Yona was in fact disguised as Raffle the First and created the Holy Soul Temple under the command of the evangelist. So yes, this entire religion is based upon a lie through the creation of this otherworldly creature. And Burns does bring up up an interesting fact that maybe, just like an Infernal and this Evangelist, that this is an otherworldly being. How else could a human live 250 years? They couldn't. So it does bring up an important question of what exactly Una is. But if we're to believe this, that the current state of the church is unaware of its true foundations, its true origins, then maybe we don't need to look deeper here. Maybe there is another organization that has been suspicious since like almost day one that we need to start investigating. Well, the only one I can think of is Hajime Industries, the one organization coupled with the Holy Soul Temple that actually created the Amaterasu. So they should know more about its fundamental things, seeing how the one in the Chinese Peninsula is literally living off a perpetually burning woman. So yeah. And this is where we get some Fire Force continuity. Remember Rekka? Yes. Well, it turns out that Hajime Industries seems to be continuing, or at least examining, the aftermath of Rekka. Now, I'm not 100% sure if they were involved. I can't remember, or I just don't know. Remember when he was out there infusing children with the infernal insects? Well, do you remember the one that actually took to it? Well, it turns out Hajime Industries is in charge of, developing or researching, or I guess the guardian of this kid, and the way they're painting his picture, he looks crazier than Inca and Homia put together. So my God, let him be a good person for now, because I'm just tired of losing people to the White Clads and the Evangelist. Speaking of losing people to the White Clads and the Evangelist, as Shinra is directed to the kitchen to test out one of Vulcan's new creation, he comes across what he thought was a cybernetic woman, I'm guessing, or maybe just a well-crafted mannequin in the form of a very familiar face. Yes, Lisa just happens to be there. This whole comedic scene where he tries to turn her on by attempting to press her breasts and then getting smashed with a mixer, and then Iris doing the same thing at the end. That was fucking gold. That was it's comedic gold right there. Yes, but it turns out she will actually be at the 8th recuperating, yet doesn't denounce the fact that she is still part of the Ashen Flame. So it's like, can we trust her? But like, I want to trust her. And like, I mean, you can tell that she's still living with what the hell Giovanni put her through. As this conversation goes on, once everyone's downing some nice smoothies. By the way, I want that blender. Seriously, this guy makes some awesome shit. But as they're going over all this information, the fact that, yes, the Holy Soul Temple's true origins, as well as Benimaru and Joker were working together, which was a giant surprise for Shinra. Hajime Industries eventually pops up, and when it's Lisa's turn to speak, I mean, she's basically interrupted by the thought of, leaking this information with Giovanni right behind her. So, I mean, she is conflicted, yet like emotionally scarred from this, but at least now she has a support system in the 8th. So as long as she just doesn't portray us like, fingers crossed. But the important thing is Hajime Industries, and exactly how are we going to investigate a company that is 70% of the entire workforce in Japan? Like, everyone is either directly or indirectly connected with this company. They have their hands in literally every single pie. So what's our in? Well, it's Victor Lick. I mean, we have an in. He just happens to be missing right now. Well, it turns out he was actually going to report to the president of Hajime Industries, which at first glance is a very, timid looking man. But at the end of today's episode, my God. So first and foremost, he, runs into Princess Hibana. Now, she's obviously reporting to them. She's like the science division, so she obviously has to report to them. But Victor obviously put something in his report that she's like, dude, you're dead. You're a fucking dead man. Why would you report? You're literally a dog that's biting the hand that feeds it. Like, what are you doing? He just gets that fucking smirk on his face like, he's up to something. He's obviously up to something. We know his grand agenda is the truth of this world, but I just don't know what this character's gonna do. Neither does the president, as he questions like, dude, like, what's going on with this? Like, just because, there's a girl in the Chinese Peninsula, power creator, they didn't even call it an Amaterasu. There's no reason to believe that the Amaterasu's like that, blah, blah, blah. So obviously they didn't like his report, but it seems they're still gonna keep him on the payroll. He has a new mission, bring Shinra Kusakabe to our laboratory. I don't know what their exact purpose is. What do they want to study on him? What do they want to capture him and use him? Not 100% sure what's going on there. But as Victor is leaving after agreeing to this mission, the president comes out and says it. You know what? After he brings Shinra to us, he gets clapped. So yeah, quite literally, he is a dead man. He went from such a timid dude to like throwing out death orders. Like, the president of Hajime Industries is a very scary dude. But I have to say, I am super excited for next week's episode. We get a little bit more past after the, the house fire incident, after Sho was taken, the mother was transformed into a demon. Like, what happened next? And it looks like we're introducing a character that has a past with a post-incident Shinra. So I'm excited. That this dude's design was fucking amazing. He has like a all craggly and ripped up on, what do they call him? The Ashen Reaper. I mean, he's gonna be a main character. Every time a new character comes up and they have crazy eyes, that they're gonna be legit to the story. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what goes next, because we've already discovered the true foundation of the Holy Soul Temple that is based on a lie told by Raffles I, who is actually Yana in disguise under the command of the evangelist to set up this new religion, which also coincides and kind of proves that the evangelist has, you know, had their ties in with humanity before. It's like just bits and pieces throughout history, you know, it makes sense that this individual is fucking with humanity. To what end, I don't know. Not to mention the actual connection between Joker and Burns is finally unveiled, that they actually travel to this other world. Not only that, they come face to face with the evangelist, but they were able to bring a piece of that world back. It's basically concrete proof that this other dimension, this other world exists, and you have to love that continuity, bringing back Rekka and the only child that actually survived his twisted experiments of putting in the infernal insects. Like, that's some great ass continuity right there. Last but not least, I am super worried for Licht. Like, at first you think he's like a double agent and like he's there to fuck with the 8th, but now I'm leaning more towards he's actually like a good guy, and I don't want to see him get fucked, but I saw a little fat boy burn to death right in front of my eyes, so shit, anything's possible. I don't like that. Anyways, like I said, today's episode was amazing. Not to mention, going forward, that this is going to be paired with another anime since Railgun is leaving. Oh, can you guys wait for Fridays? I can't. So with all that being said, and more Fire Force next week, I cannot wait for future episodes.